All right. Yeah, we can probably get started here. Thanks everyone for joining another weekly webinar for SkillShark. Today we'll be talking about some of the advanced features on All-Star that you can utilize. For those who haven't created their own account already, you can do so by going to skillshark.com, select Get Started for free, and you can play around with a free account and do some of the things that we'll be talking about today and see if it might be able to help your current program. So definitely go try that out and let us know what you think. For those of you that do have an account, we can go through, like I said, some of the All-Star features and show you how those work. So one of the things you can do on our All-Star tier is if I go into reports, there's a feature called individual development. So essentially, any sort of metrics you gather on the mobile app, and those metrics are fully customizable. So if I was looking at baseball, wanted to track a kid's home to first times or their exit velos as months or years go on, I could do that in this section here. So I can see like from spring, mechanics are a 4.9, maybe they're down to a 4.5, or I can see I want to look at contact is a 7.3 in the spring. Summer, it's actually gotten a little worse, down to a 5.25. So we'll want to look at what we can do to get that as high as possible going forward. And this sort of stuff can be tracked for months or years down the road. So if you are interested in tracking your players' growth and development for years to come, it's a great place to do it here. And also you can go down and select which metrics you want to look at, and it gives you up to 5 on one screen. The other thing too is compare development. So similar concept, but we're actually comparing players on their tryouts throughout the year, or basically how they scored compared to the other athletes. And you can select the metrics as well. So if I want to compare their 60-yard dash times on a historical scale, it will provide that for me just by clicking a button. And also, some coaches like to see the strengths and weaknesses in their players. It's a great way to pull it up on like a spider graph. And I can just pinpoint here if I want to compare Neil and Jordan. I can actually just hit the eye icon, hit hide, and it will compare these two players. And again, I can choose which metrics I want them to be compared on. And again, if you are kind of new to SkillShark, these metrics you create are created in your evaluation template. So you could have mechanics, contact, bat speed. And if you want to change any of these, by all means, just click the 3 dots and click edit to the right of each metric. And I can say I want to measure bat speed, miles per hour, and it'll let me do that here. You can even see the preview of how it'll look on the mobile app. Another thing on the All-Star tier that coaches like to utilize is the Self-Assessments tab. So if I click here, I can actually go in, have my players evaluate themselves, and then compare what my coaches think of the players versus what they think of themselves. So common things like how would you rate your work ethic? They could respond with a scored response or a written response on their players. And you can always have them input a message as well instead of a score. So coachability, I always want to get better, or team attitude, we need some more players if we want to be a winning, contending team this year. So how this works, similar to how you make your template, you go in, decide your metrics, and your players will get access to enter in these scores or comments on the mobile app. Once they've filled them out, then you'll be able to see their results here, or their scores here, I should say. One other thing is the cumulative reports. If you ever need to make teams from your assessments or tryouts, you can actually go in, and if I click edit here, I can say I want to call this top pitchers, and I want to weight the accuracy and mechanics metrics on my players. So you can go in, change the recipe and the weighting of each skill and metric. And then if I go to events as well, if you want to weight your events as well, you can click your summer tryout event, and I'll just hit save. So now when I go back to my report, it's going to show me their overall score and an overall for each event. So if you had multiple assessments or tryouts, or even tryouts that spanned over a couple of weeks, I can see their scores per session and then get an overall. And what a lot of people like to do from here is assign them to teams. So I can say Neil was top, so I'll put him on team A. Ted Williams probably be team A. Jenny might be team A. And everybody else might be team B. So if you do want to draft your teams in efficient manner, cumulative reports would be a good place to do that. And if you're wondering how to gather this data to make teams or view spider graphs or historical graphs, you just need to create an event, and then you want to download the SkillShark app on your phone or iPad, and you'll be able to score these players and then have this data saved onto personalized reports for each athlete. I'm wondering if I can share my phone screen. Let me try and do that. Okay. So I'm going to try and share my phone screen so you can see how this looks. And let me just see if you guys see if I can share this screen. Okay, so I think that works. If anyone can't see that, let me know. And if anyone has joined late or is not able to make this call, it will be recorded. So you will get a copy of this. So when you go in, I'll just use baseball again as an example. I can click enter scores. And it's going to ask who am I evaluating today. So I'd have my players listed here. It's always nice to have them assigned to player lists or teams. So you can just filter and say, hey, I just want to see my 06 boys group. And the app will do all the filtering for you. So you can hit continue. It's going to say, what are you evaluating today? Well, I guess one thing too, if you have large numbers of athletes coming through, the check-in players option is always nice. You can determine which players have shown up and which are absent before you get started. And a lot of our groups like to click on the headshot icon, assign a headshot to make it easier to recognize the player during the assessment. And you can also assign jersey numbers and colors instantly here. So I'll go back in, and just to score the athlete, however you've set up your metrics, you can just slide the scale, and I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. Contact, maybe it's a 3.5, not as strong. I can hit the speech bubble. I can say contact could improve. If you are looking to track development in your athletes, the video camera icon to the right of each metric is nice to have. You can take or upload videos, and those will attach to each athlete's profile. So I'll just take a video, and that usually updates within a few seconds. So once you've gone in and scored some of the athletes, I can use my stopwatch to record any sort of times. It'll all save onto personalized reports for each athlete that you can view instantly afterwards. And throwing velo, 65. Perfect. So let's say I finished my assessment. I can close out of the app, and I'll go back to my computer screen, and we'll load up SkillShark. So again, the app is primarily for collecting data on your on your players, and then the computer is for setting things up and viewing reports. So like I said, if we go back to reports, and actually let's go to all scores first, and I'll just check off some events. And I can see right away scores for every player, as well as breakdowns for the categories and the skills that they were assessed on. So it's going to give me all the data here. If I want to drill down and see, their bat speed miles per hour or their score for contact and mechanics, it'll show me all that here instantly afterwards, and I can see the overall for each player. And what I was mentioning before, in our individual reports, I'll just check some events. When I hit view on their report, it's going to give me a personalized report on each athlete showing all the scores, comments, and videos we collected on them. If you wanted to add in your logo and share these with parents and players, they typically appreciate the direction and feedback so that they can focus on what they can do to get better in the program. And you can choose to show averages or just their score. And like I said, any comments and videos would also be tagged in there as well. I can display this as a spider graph, and it would show all that data. So if I wanted to change anything about my reports, every program's different. Maybe I do want to show averages, or I want to hide averages. I will click unselect, and you can see probably here that it's just the blue bar representing the individual player's score for this metric. And I can just hit save changes. If you do want to send these out, you can hit back to list. And really, it's just a matter of checking off the box beside the player's name and hitting send reports. So again, in order to view all the reports like individual development, compare development, we just need to go in and enter scores on the mobile app. And once you do that, all the reports will just populate for you instantly. So that is pretty much what I wanted to cover today. I know it's quite a bit, so if you do have any questions about what I went through, I'm more than happy to answer any questions via email. It's just adam@skillshark.com.